Okay, welcome back to the news, everybody. Today we've got another update to the Activision-Blizzard situation. There are people at the company who are worried about retaliatory layoffs, right, against people who are specifically speaking out. And, well, there's a proper labor law complaint has in fact been issued. So, yeah, things are continuing. It seems like broadly a lot of the staff are not particularly pleased at how the company is handling things. So, let's start. Activision-Blizzard accused of union busting. If you want to know what's happening, it's this. The Communications Workers of America have accused ActiBliz of illegal union busting tactics. This is according to a new complaint that is with the National Labor Relations Board. Now, this was filed on the 10th of September, since has been made public, and it is alleging several violations of the National Labor Relations Act, which makes it illegal for companies to interfere with employees' rights to self-organize and form unions. Now, here's the basics of the charge that is being leveled against Activision-Blizzard. Within the last 6 months, the above-named employer has repeatedly engaged in unlawful conduct by threatening employees, so that's a bad start, in the exercise of rights guaranteed by Section 7. The employer has threatened employees that they cannot talk about or communicate about their wages, hours, or working conditions. Well, that's what we call bullshit. You should be able to talk about those things if you wish. Telling employees they cannot communicate with or discuss ongoing investigations of wages, hours, and working conditions. Once more, you can't do that. Maintained an overly broad social media policy. That's, again, an interesting thing. Trying to quash things down. Enforce the social media policy against employees who have engaged in protected concerted activity. That would be, sort of activities that are actually legally protected, things they have a legal right to do. Threatened or disciplined employees on account of protected concerted activity. Not good when you are publicly being accused of threatening your employees for speaking. Engaged in surveillance of employees, who are engaged in protected activities, and engaged in interrogation of employees about, again, the protected concerted activity. Man. And it's interesting. I even know of a local company that certainly did log into an employee's computer to try to snoop and things. That is all to say, watch out. In many places, your employer can just turn your computer on and can just look at your Slack DMs if they really want to. There are companies who will be total scumbags about things like that, so even watch out in your own place of work. So that is what is basically being alleged. I think we can all see that is some pretty damn bad shit. But if a company is willing to expose itself to such a complaint, I think you need only ask yourself, why would they expose themselves to that risk if they weren't trying to quash something? I don't know. What about you? Do you think that's a fair thought, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always, if you look at motives, if you look at incentives, there is no way Activision-Blizzard would do this for any reason other than to profit at those employees' expense. It's kind of the thing where, especially when it comes to surveillance, the only argument people have against surveillance is, well, if you have nothing to hide, it doesn't matter. But we all know that's an awful, awful excuse.
Terrible, yeah.
You just shouldn't be doing that. And the same when it comes to, and it actually annoyed me reading it, but not letting people talk about wages or talk about how they're being treated at work. Like, that, the only reason you don't want people to talk is because you don't want to hear what they have to say. Yeah. That's why you cut out someone's tongue if what they would say is dangerous.
When a company basically says no negativity in the dojo, like that's something that people meme on about the Warcraft dev team and, it's the state of World of Warcraft, but it applies to situations like this. And, maybe people will eventually find out anytime I make a bit of a statement about a decently local company. But no negativity in the dojo is basically a massive fucking warning sign that stuff will probably go to shit whenever a company's leadership is like that. Because it basically shows they're burying their heads in the sand, probably because it's what's convenient for them. And that is obviously not the way to operate, because we must deal at all times in reality. And reality does in fact involve things that are a bit negative. So moving on to a better ABK, which is of course the employee movement to basically affect change. In partnership with Code CWA, we filed an unfair labor practice suit with the National Labor Relations Board. If the board rules in our favor, the ruling will be retroactive and we will set a precedent that no worker in the US can be intimidated out of talking about forced arbitration. That is a big thing. I can't exactly say what it's like in, say, the UK or Europe, but I always consistently hear of American employees not at all being happy with forced arbitration clauses that are in their employment contracts. And those are clauses that, of course, are designed, well, to protect the employer. And often, I think, to protect the employer in a case where it's, not particularly fair. Or at the very, there's ways you could say that the arbitration is just, it's more efficient and quick and you don't get into a big grinding legal thing. And, parts of that could be true, but ultimately it is something that the company can use to protect itself, right? So that is basically what's going on. And of course, an end to forced arbitration in the employee contracts, that is one of a better ABK's main demands to management. Of course, it is one of the demands that basically, I think nobody officially from Activision-Blizzard has actually referenced. Because obviously, forced arbitration clauses are fucking awesome for a company. They really are. So
yeah, I mean, in terms of what the impact of forced arbitration is, it, as far as I understand, it basically protects them from any major legal damage. It's always, you've had a problem. Well, we can sort it without anyone having to hear about it. We can have you sign all the NDAs, and that way nothing gets out.
Yep,
nothing gets out.
We will take it to an arbitrator. It will be arbitrated. We'll all, tick our boxes, sign our names. Maybe we'll give you some money about it, and that'll be that.
Mm-hmm.
Which, it keeps things under the rug. But sometimes what happens is there's so much shit under the rug that it does just spill out, and this is what we're seeing. Quick tweet was issued by Code CWA, just saying they're proud to support the ABK employees. And, onwards we go. Time for the legal fight. So let's talk about Activision-Blizzard's response. Wait, there isn't actually a response to talk about. So, as of the time of us doing this, they have issued no formal statement about this, which, of course, would make sense. Obviously, though, the silence is deafening in cases such as this. And, it very much seems like they were just hoping that, Bobby could issue a few statements. And in fairness, some good changes have happened, right? Like, there are people who have been, are not in the company anymore, who do seem like they were problem people. So it's good that those people are being removed because they shouldn't be there if they're doing bad things. But that's the sort of thing where it's like, they're going to get rid of the people who are being very obviously very bad. And they probably do want to improve aspects of internal culture because they probably know that awful morale and awful internal culture is not a great way to actually get product made on time. But they will want to do those positive things while keeping as many of their legal protections and, the big structures that just keep them safe intact. Whereas for a lot of the employees, they see a lot of those structures essentially as being things that have allowed them to be treated like shit for a long time with not great recourse. So that's what's going to be a big problem. Now, this is what's fun, and, good catch for everyone for picking this up. So, Call of Duty Vanguard is the latest Call of Duty game, and one of the things we noticed is, earlier on, they removed the Activision branding from it. However, the Activision branding is in fact back. Did they think it had blown over? Because, decently prominent Activision company branding is actually there. Now, what's funny is, this is what's bullshit. They said it was a creative choice to remove that Activision branding, to really double down on it being Call of Duty. Call of Duty presents. Not Activision. Who are they? Well, they've got nothing to do with this. It's Call of Duty. It is the brand you like. No. So that was a creative choice that they removed Activision from it. So, I don't know, is it a creative choice that they've added it back? Or could it maybe be something to do with what's actually been happening?
I honestly can't believe this. It is the most, transparent thing I think they've ever done. Because obviously, I can't believe they had someone go out and say, it's a creative choice. It's a great choice. It's a Call of Duty Presents because we really want to push Call of Duty as a brand and not think about, about the company behind it. And actually, we'll put our name on it now. Don't worry. Everyone's forgot. It's so violently transparent. I hate it. Like,
it's insane. It really is insane. I just can't believe the sheer PR stupidity. Like, I look at this and I think, you know what? If you're trying to just get away with being evil, you've got absolutely fucking incompetent people orchestrating your evil plan because it's so transparent. Yeah, wild. So now we get on to stuff that's a bit more grim. Retaliatory layoffs. Are they coming? Well, one of the tweets that did the rounds earliest was from BlizzPlanet, which is a very, it's been going for a long time, Blizz fan site. Update. Vice got a heads up that some employees were told they've been underperforming when it's not true. Sign that some outspoken workers might be laid off in retaliation soon. This must not stand. Now, it's the sort of thing, look, if somebody's underperforming and, they're being given feedback and, it's not moving in the right direction, then, yeah, a company can start to make those moves. But if it's not actually correlated with their performance, and it also seems to correlate with that employee being heavily involved in something, then you obviously have to think, is this because of the thing they're involved in? So here's from Vice. A current Activision-Blizzard employee who asked to remain anonymous as they feared retaliation said that some employees have recently been told their performance was not up to par by their lead, even though they had been doing well. We think since they're being so outspoken, leadership is trying to get rid of them, the employee said, adding that the person in question had been outspoken in internal company channels. As a result of these tactics, the employee said, I've noticed some people have gone completely silent or even quit the company and the games industry altogether. We've seen retaliation already, they said in an online chat, so I'm scared. Now that's the interesting thing. I mean, if it is between work time and you have a job and you've got to fulfill, the parts of your job, you still have to do that. So if you are spending a whole bunch of your work time not doing your job and then underperforming, then that would be a valid reason to say, hey, you're underperforming. Look, we get it. This stuff is really important, but you still have to do your job because we still have to do our jobs. But if that is not the case, and these people are engaging in this, in the activism stuff, while also fulfilling the roles of their job to a good standard, and then they're being told they're underperforming, well, that is obviously not a fair thing. Now, so far it seems this is primarily from one source who is not being named. Now, I have seen a few people on Twitter, I think Jessica Gonzalez, who's sort of mentioned things like that. Now, she's obviously being public on Twitter, so maybe that is two people who are saying these words in the right direction. So we should just, for the sake of responsibility, note that we do not know right now the full extent of the sourcing on this. But this is what the murmurings are saying, and obviously, if true, then this is absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. So I suppose for somebody like Tracy Kennedy here, who's a producer on Overwatch, she just tweeted, don't be afraid, fear is all they have to control us. But if they actually retaliate, the Labour Board will make us whole. So, will Tracy be retaliated against for saying things like this? I think that is the question. And in a way, I wonder if there are some people who are at Blizzard who almost kind of think to themselves, well, I fucking dare you to retaliate. Because if you do, then, so help me God, right? It's, it's going to go down. And certainly, I think a Labour Board would be very keenly interested. In fact, are keenly interested.
Certainly.
So as for some new hires, there is another thing that has been going on. So, of course, we have got some great experienced gamers coming to join this gaming company. Activision-Blizzard have hired Julie Hodges as their new Chief People Officer, effective September 21st. A 32-year veteran of Walt Disney Company, where she led HR for Walt Disney Parks and Resorts and Disney's Talent Acquisition Center of Excellence, amongst other things. She'll be responsible for all aspects of human resources, as well as making Activision-Blizzard the destination for top talent. And she is replacing the former head of HR, Claudine Naughton, who is leaving the company. Oh boy, howdy, I wonder why. Now, I did make a bit of a joke about, these aren't gamers. In fairness, if you are dealing with corporate HR, being super involved at the product level, maybe is not the most important thing.
Of course.
You probably want the person who is the best at dealing, with the HR related stuff. And, just another nice little quote from Bobby, seasoned leader, inspiring, equitable entertainment, company in the world. All the usual stuff from Bobby. And hey, I hope it's true, because if she's good at HR, that will be good for the employees. Now, elsewhere, Sandeep Dubh, the former SVP, I can't apologize if I've got his surname wrong, former SVP of Revenue Management at Delta Airlines, will be Chief Commercial Officer effective September 27th, and that is actually basically a position that has been vacant since their last CCO was made the CFO, course, replacing Dennis Durkin. Dennis Durkin, a character who was, in fact, one of the very first stories on this channel.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And again, not a gamer, right? Delta Airlines, and I think it's just the sort of thing where, from a big top-level corporate thing, it's like you probably want the best person in the biz for doing revenue management, and maybe there's aspects of revenue management that just come down to managing the revenue well, and maybe you don't need to be super involved in games to get that. But I think people would generally prefer somebody who really likes games, is really involved in games. Maybe he is. Who knows? Maybe his kids are. Who knows? But I think people would want maybe a merging of those fields. And you could say that perhaps while, this is makes sense from a big corporate structure level, is it the case that more and more people like this coming from, Delta Airlines and Walt Disney Company, that the people with a passion for games are not at the top of the company? Therefore, are they going to be making the kind of decisions people would like? I mean, say what you will about Riot, and there's a lot to be said about Riot, especially in the context of all of these things that we have been just talking about, and how Riot very much fell foul of all of these things. You could maybe say that Riot has got quite a few gamers at the top, that they're focused in games, and that maybe that's why they are really putting the S in Riot Games, with there also being, they've got the FPS now, there's a fighting game in the way, there's an MMORPG in the way, they have Riot Forge to make, narrative games within their universes. I mean, if you have a gaming company with a lot of gaming DNA in its corporate structure, while we do have to be careful that, bad things don't happen, like with what did happen to Riot, but could you say that that is a corporate structure that is, more aligned with what the gaming customers want? And then a perhaps second order effect of that is that that's actually what's really good for the revenue. Instead of just sitting there and thinking, well, here are the product lines we've got, how do we manage our revenue perfectly across them? And maybe that's what leads to just Call of Duty, 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 in the most optimized way possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think for places like this, for positions like this, I think it's okay to have non-gamers, because especially if you're looking for corporate expertise, because gaming hasn't been this size forever.
Yeah.
But obviously, let's completely leave aside the fact that she's coming from Disney, because I don't think Disney are the most morally outstanding company in the world at the minute. Lots to say about them, but 32-year veteran. You're not going to get a 32-year veteran of HR from video games at anywhere near that scale. Yeah. So I think that's fair, but I also completely agree with the fact that, obviously leadership will trickle down things. Obviously you want people who are passionate about the product involved at all levels of the company, and I think that's where people always hammered Bobby on it. And they always said, oh, Bobby doesn't like playing games. And whenever, some PR comes back and he does like playing games, that boils down to, I used to play a couple of arcade games, and also I play Skylanders with my kids. That's basically the height of it. Versus looking at the sheer positive reception of the Blizzard new co-lead, Mike Ibarra. Everyone's over the moon basically about him, because he plays the game. He talks to people about the game. So in a world where Bobby Kotick could tweet, I've just killed, so I just got Curve, I just killed Sylvanas. It's that kind of thing would be really, I think that would be really good for the whole company overall. It's just, not a necessity, I think, but it would be extremely nice to have, because otherwise you look and go, oh, well, these are people who don't care about our industry, in the industry purely for the case of making money, and they're coming from places like Delta Airlines, obviously a highly reputable company, fantastic, fantastic behavior and fantastic product lines across the world. Same with Disney, where they're, obviously their executive level all seem to be as cynical as anybody else at that level. Versus, sure, maybe they hire decent people to make decent stuff, but if the very, very top end of the company isn't going to help that stuff, isn't going to really care about anything except money, then there's no logical reason things will be okay.
Yeah, I mean, a good example even for Disney Co right now, and probably time to wrap up pretty soon in this one, but a good example, the Fast Pass in Disney parks. This is a very recent change. Sorry, I mean, the things you get to learn when, your girlfriend's big fucking Disney, like theme park, roller coaster and stuff fan. But they've changed they've changed how the fast passes work, because it just used to be you could book them in advance, they'd be free, and it would just be a way for people to like schedule their day at the park for it to be better. But now the fast pass is being replaced with an app that is like super monetized, where, the fast pass is like, cough up some dough if you want to get in that line. So they've even more deeply monetized that. And that's a really good example where, if you're a core fan of just the theme park experience, right? I mean, I will admit, I've went to the Disney parks in Orlando and I'm not a thrill seeker, but they're fucking cool. All the stuff the Imagineers do, I mean, whenever I go to Japan, I'm going to go to the Disney there because it looks just incredible, the artistry of making it. But for somebody like that, and this is where my analogy comes back to those of us who play games, well, they changed the Fast Pass to now be worse for you, to be more deeply monetized. And there's a big kickback in the Disney community over that now. And I just think it's almost a bit cute how there's that happening over there. And I think to us as gamers, the version of of suddenly the Fast Pass is monetized, we all feel that in our games too. And that's maybe how just some of these big, sort of at the very top level corporate structures don't always best serve the interest of the customer. They best serve the interest of getting the most money out of customers. That's great if the customers want to give money because they're happy about the product, and less good if they're kind of being, cajoled, or psychological techniques are being used to sort of massage them in the more profitable direction.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I've been thinking about recently quite a lot is, if you want to increase value, you've got out of a product specifically, you've got two ways to do that. I mean, obviously this is really hyper simplified, but imagine something like a fruit. You could either pay care and attention to growing it so it grows better and it's bigger, fruit. The best form of fruit, and then when you juice it, you'll get more juice. Or you could figure out a way to juice it further and how to make pulp taste good.
Oh, whoa.
And I think that's kind of the what monetization will do and is doing, where it's squeezing more out of the existing product instead of someone who's a gamer at the top of this corporation would likely have more of a focus on making the actual game better, making the thing the higher quality. So I think that's kind of the problem I think we run into here.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Mikey Barr at least seemed a bit more pissed off at the AoE cap than Jab did. Not that Jab ever said anything about it. Yep. And of course is not to miss the overall point here of, the union busting, the retaliatory actions and things like that, which, suffice to say, if those things do happen, you can be damn sure we'll hear about it. You can be damn sure that various labor boards, etc., will get involved, and that they will be held to account. So I think it is good news that employees are feeling emboldened to actually stand up for themselves and to demand a better workplace. Because, frankly, these games make a fuckload of money, and the people who are making those games are the people who are making the company fuckloads of money, and they should be treated well because they're making their company a fuckload of money. I mean, come on. How do you have these wildly successful products and then you chronically underinvest in your people? The people make the products. The role of corporate and HR and all of that should be to support your people so they can do their best work, not to just be squeezing. So that's basically where we are at this story. Good luck to the Blizzard employees, the Activision Blizzard employees, I should say, and we will keep you updated as the story develops. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.